Bitcoin just smashed through $108,000 earlier today. Let's take a look at what's catalyzing this run, some of the current news, and let's talk about why it matters for you. There's a couple of major stories that are currently leading to this run up in Bitcoin's price. Just remember that the fundamentals of Bitcoin always remain the same. There's still a finite amount, and the price is just the current sentiment reflected in the market, but it's still important to watch the news and see why these things are happening. So the first big piece of news is the US Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. This recent rally has majorly been catalyzed by a perceived favorable environment, perceived favorable political landscape in the United States for Bitcoin. Throughout history, the US government has been very hostile towards crypto, Bitcoin, and now we are seeing a different regime and have hopes of a more favorable landscape. So this strategic reserve is similar to the strategic oil reserve or the strategic gold reserve, where we basically hold a finite asset to strengthen our economy. And the big bull case here is if the US starts to buy all this Bitcoin. There was talks about buying 100,000 or a million Bitcoin. I don't remember the exact number, but if we buy this set amount of Bitcoin, regardless of the price, then it could create sort of an arms race. So similar to we had like the space race where different countries race like, oh, this guy just went to space, so now we all need to rush and put together all of our resources to, compete. And I think the perceived effect of the strategic Bitcoin reserve will be something similar, where if the US buys up a million Bitcoin, say, which is a lot of the supply, which they could afford to do, if we sell off some of our gold, which gold has, been declining as a store of value a little bit. If we sell some of these assets and buy Bitcoin, then other countries will, in theory, rush to do the same. Recently, Russia, Vladimir Putin was talking about Bitcoin, basically saying Bitcoin is too big to stop. No one can stop this thing. And they were even talking about using it in their trades. So, yeah, the bull case here is all these countries rush to buy Bitcoin, and everyone starts to realize that this is a finite asset and no one can create more of it. And the US takes a million of them out of the 21 million off the market forever, and then the price could just explode from there. So that's just in anticipation of this happening. So when the US actually goes to buy this Bitcoin and the supply runs out, then that's when we're really going to see a run up. And that's why I believe it's still so early, because all these moves are just in anticipation of this happening, and we haven't seen the extent of the actual supply shock yet. So I think this is interesting and like to keep following this. And the next major story that is causing this run up, I think, is MicroStrategy. They're buying just insane amounts of Bitcoin. They own 439,000 Bitcoin, which out of the 21 million is not a insignificant number. They own a huge portion of that. So MicroStrategy is basically, to sum it up, they're basically taking out debt to buy Bitcoin and then selling that debt. And I think I still need to do more research into MicroStrategy specifically and their strategy. I bought a small percentage of my portfolio of MicroStrategy stock just because I had money there, but this is a huge story because they're just buying such a huge amount. And Michael Saylor compared this to Manhattan real estate, where every time Manhattan real estate goes up in value, they issue more debt to develop more real estate. And that's basically what's happening with MicroStrategy. They're getting more debt to then buy more of the supply of Bitcoin. and they're just doing it over and over again. And he's saying that's why buildings are so tall in New York City. It's been going on for 350 years. And since Manhattan real estate is a finite asset similar to Bitcoin, this is kind of a similar strategy, and a lot of people are getting on board with this strategy. Basically, he is taking out debt and basically selling a weak currency in the dollar and using it to buy a stronger currency in Bitcoin. And I don't think this comes without risk. Obviously, do your own research, and I still have more research to do on this topic, but I think it's really interesting what they're doing. I try to follow along with it as much as I can, but basically they are buying insane amounts of Bitcoin and going into debt to buy more Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin works, then in theory, MicroStrategy's stock could explode as they hold a significant portion of the total supply. So we'll see what happens here, but I think this kind of arbitrage play and this almost like it's like a giant short on the US dollar, like the movie The Big Short, like we're just shorting the value of the dollar and longing the value of Bitcoin. So yeah, super interesting. We'll continue to keep an eye on this, but yeah, just continue to buy Bitcoin whenever you can. There's never a bad day to buy Bitcoin, even when it's going up to these prices. Like, it's just still so early in terms of adoption. Like, just talk to a couple people. The odds are they don't know anything about how Bitcoin works. They might see it, but very few people actually own Bitcoin, and it's a finite asset. There's only 21 million, so yeah, the price will always fluctuate, but one Bitcoin will always be worth one Bitcoin. 1/10 of a Bitcoin will always be worth 1/10 of a Bitcoin, whereas you're holding on to dollars, and your $1,000 buys you $1,000 worth of goods today, but that purchasing power is just constantly going down. So opt out of that system with Bitcoin, even if it's a small percentage of your savings or a small percentage of your investment accounts. It's just important to get started. So if you're ready to get started with your Bitcoin journey, here are some tools to help you get started. River Financial is the most trusted Bitcoin-only exchange. It offers full proof of reserves, ensuring your Bitcoin is secure and not lent out. You can use the Fold app to earn Bitcoin cashback on everyday purchases. Get 20,000 sats for free using my referral link when you make your first purchase. You can use the Strike app to buy and send Bitcoin easily. Use my referral link for reduced fees. You can use Ledger to protect your Bitcoin with a hardware wallet. Use my referral link below. To summarize, Bitcoin is going mainstream. The US Reserve News and MicroStrategy's buying is just the beginning. Let me know in the comments what are your thoughts on these stories. And if you enjoyed this, hit like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And together, let's work, save, and build a brighter future with Bitcoin. See you in the next video.